It's about changing the narrative and curating change and showcasing the years of work that some of us have been putting in. And I think it's a thank you from me and a thank you from local communities that have voted for me, and us, should I say, yes.
So this was voted for by the local community for your work in the local community. Amani, firstly, tell me about your journey up to now and how you got the recognition for this award.
So I've had a bit of a turbulent journey. I was stabbed when I was 21, 7 times. I was in different bits of trouble when I was a teenager, but since then I've turned my life around through enterprise, and I work with young people. And this year in January I created a short film called Amani, and we've just hit 2 million views on YouTube. And so this has been kind of the pinnacle of my story, you know, to really be recognised by the community, and to now be celebrated is a huge honour. Definitely.
Joss, you involved in childcare,
Yes.
and you found it difficult in the initial stages when you were trying to get jobs. Tell us about how your career.
The difficulty lied in trying to go to recruitment services to find nanny roles. There was probably about 2 out of 50 nanny agencies that would employ me. So being on Nendal, I employed myself, and that's how I created Joss Care. But Joss Care stemmed from a name that I gathered working with children 13 years ago. So I've been doing it for 13 years plus, but I've been self-employed now as a business owner for the last 2.5 years.
So initially, would you say there was a sort of prejudice against you as a black male trying to get into...
Yeah, I think the prejudice stemmed from just being a male and people not knowing, and people being scared of the fact that a man wants to be a nanny, where if I apply for jobs in nurseries, I get a job just from seeing my CV, and I get offered all kind of roles in the nursery. But as nannies, agencies didn't want to see me, but parents are all for it, but agencies weren't.
And so your answer to that was just start your own business and make your way.
Yeah, so I couldn't get through the door, so I created my own, basically.
100%.
Amani, that's similar to you in many ways, but you got involved in crime and you said you got stabbed, and that was the catalyst for the change.
Not necessarily. I actually turned my life around from the age of 16.
Yeah.
I essentially got stabbed by getting myself involved in someone else's argument, and I always use the analogy of putting the mask back on. So I'd taken it off and, you know, was pursuing enterprise and, you know, was a really kind of prominent member of my community, but then I completely forgot that one night and got in the middle of an argument and got stabbed. And so I feel like now that I'm an adult, it's important for me to go back and encourage young people that there's alternative options, that they can have brighter futures, that sometimes the start of their life is a bit turbulent, but that's not how their life has to end. So
yeah, in terms of violent crime, we hear about it all the time, young people in violent crime. The solutions aren't as easy as just putting more police on the streets as you guys see it, is it? Or just simple quick fixes. It's a holistic change we need, is that right?
100%. I believe that, you know, the idea of having more police on the street, it's been proven that that doesn't work. More stop and search isn't going to do anything. It's more about early intervention. It's more about opportunities for these young people, employment opportunities. A lot of this is stemmed down to economic poverty or even poverty in the mind. And so we really need to be thinking about how can we get these young people that are in some of these environments into places of work or into self-employment or things like that that can allow them to use these skills in a positive manner.
Yeah, and you do lots of sort of talks in schools and things. What kind of reactions do you see from the kids?
It's humbling, to be honest. I do a 6-week programme in primary and secondary schools and assemblies up and down the country. And I think that the most important thing for me is that young people are getting something from my story. Yes, okay, there's an element of celebrity culture, but I don't really kind of get gassed by that in that sense. You know, it's more about the idea that you're actually learning something from my journey. So.
Yeah, and Joss, with you, have you seen a change in people's attitudes as you've come to get more and more work and your business has taken off?
Yes, because I got 4 inquiries this morning. It's not even 12 o'clock. So I realised when I've been able to have families contact me direct, it's worked more in my favour. So for the last 3-4 years, I've been in demand, and if they can't use me, I have a bunch of friends that work like me, men and females as well. So. At some point I'll be recruiting because it's getting to a stage where I can't cut myself in half.
Have you seen like parents' attitudes change as well?
And I'm seeing more and more families are being more open in admitting they got male nannies, because a lot of families had a male nanny but didn't want to have the conversation about it. And agencies are slowly trying, but a lot of them are quite old-fashioned. So I think there's My Manny and Me is an agency. Greycoats of Lumley's and Joss Cambridge and a few other companies that are kind of waving the flag. And then we've got early years campaigns for men in childcare as well. So over the next few years, you're going to see us.
Yeah. This figure from Operation Black Vote, that 36 of the most powerful people in the UK from out of over 1,000 are from the BAME community, are from ethnic minorities. Do you think that's going to exponentially change over the next few years, and this is something that's going to do that, or is the work sort of more concentrated in the communities and it's not being recognised for its sort of smaller, more nuanced way of treating things?
Yeah, I think definitely, you know, when you look at the idea of who we call role models, they're not always necessarily on the television. You know, there's a lot of key figures in the community that go underneath the radar that don't require a film crew in order to come and see what they're doing. They've been doing the work in and out for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years. I feel like what's actually starting to happen with social media is that a lot of these people are coming to the forefront. A lot more people are able to share these stories. And it's time for the media platforms to wake up and give these guys opportunities to tell their stories. You know, we don't always require it, but if we're talking about how we're going to solve some of the issues on the streets, we need to see alternative options for the black and ethnic minority community.
Yeah, you talk about role models,
Yes.
For young black men and anyone from ethnic backgrounds.
Yes.
The most important thing for changing your future.
Yes, role models. And I've realised I've become a role model whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
So, like I tell parents, children have made me check myself. So these babies from 5 months to 2 years, to the fact I've got 2 little brothers, I have to watch how I step, watch what I do in life. And I'm now at a stage where I enjoy having these children look up to me because I somewhat look up to them. So, and I think role models are very important because my role models growing up were my dad, uncles, Ian Wright, Lenny Henry, because that's the generation I'm from. But that's because they made, like my uncles and my dad and my family made sure they was prominent. Not all men are like that. They try, but it doesn't always come off right. So, yeah, role models are very, very needed.
Do you guys feel a strong sense of responsibility to be role models then and always watch yourself, like Joss said?
Yeah, I'd say that, you know, being in the public eye, you definitely have to think about, you know, how is this going to come across to those watching me. But I think most importantly, you know, just for myself, you know, I try and be a well-rounded and humble individual. And I kind of let my work do the talking for me. A lot of people will say, oh, you know, you did this or you did this, you've achieved that. And I just say it's part of the mission. You know, the mission is to empower young people and my community. But most importantly, you mentioned about role model. Yes, it's for the black and ethnic minority communities, but it's for people in general. You know, I think a lot of the time we look at people that have this overnight success or this kind of influencer status, and a lot of them aren't necessarily role models. They just have a lot of people following them. And so it's about our kind of our value systems and what we would class as a society as what is a role model, I'd say.
And when it comes to the awards, it's more about just sort of being there and meeting people, isn't it? You're not up for the plaudits, are you?
It's the more of the journey and the fact that I've been nominated, but in my eyes, I feel like I've won. Because the fact that I got voted for, I've won.
Yeah.
So I feel the same.
Yeah,
same
and we can't take for granted it was
Yes.
28,000 people that we've been shortlisted out of, and it's our community that have, you know, taken their time out and said, okay, this is why we believe that these guys are role models for us. And I think, yes, the awards is going to be one night, but the most important thing is that there are platforms like this that people can be celebrated because you don't always see these things in everyday media. So it's important that these things are, you know, really, really prominent in our society, I'd say.